Good morning, everybody. Eric Brewer here. Wanted to hop on this morning and share some experience with you. I want to talk today about follow-up. For those of you that are in sales, this should be a hot topic of conversation. And oftentimes, in a lot of sales teams that I've worked with, and as we talk with salespeople across the country that we train, we find oftentimes that follow-up just doesn't get done. And very seldom is it because we don't value follow-up or see or even understand that there's opportunity in follow-up. Depending on the books that you read or the industry that you're in, oftentimes you'll find that over 50% of sales are made with follow-up, and follow-up oftentimes happens and the deal happens between the 6th and 12th time that we follow up with a customer. But a lot of sales teams and salespeople are super reluctant to do follow-up. And when we work with real estate agents across the country, one of the things that we find is that the reluctancy to follow up with a client stems from how they ended the sales call. And how you end the sales call has a lot to do with whether or not you have a process from beginning to end. Without a process, when you end a sales call, oftentimes you're left with bits and pieces of information, or maybe even just flat out guessing why the prospect has chosen not to move forward with the sale or whatever it is that you're selling. And it makes for a very uncomfortable or unproductive, oftentimes a follow-up call that most salespeople will avoid because they're not sure what to say when they make that follow-up call, because it has not been made clear to them and they don't fully understand why they were unable to make the sale in the first place. So when you have a sales process in place like the one that we teach, as you're working with a potential buyer and seller, what you're going to get is open and honest communication from them. They're going to be more willing to engage in conversation with you and share their motivation. They're going to share with you the pros and cons and the benefits that they're weighing about making this decision to move forward or not. So at the end of the sales call, with a proven sales process in place, what you'll find is you'll get honest information back from the client. So the buyer or seller may say to you, "Hey, you know what, Eric? At this point, we're gonna hold off on moving forward. We'd like to sleep on it. We've made a decision that the seems to be the right house. We love everything about it. We're just a little concerned about the down payment and monthly payment. It's just a tad outside of our budget that we set aside. It's affordable, but it's a little more than what we were prepared to pay. And we just kind of we want to run back through our budget and make sure that, we feel ultimately comfortable with that stuff." So let's just assume at that point you go, "Hey, you know what? I completely understand." Now, what you're in a position to do is make a much better follow-up call, whether it's a day later, a week later. You can actually have conversation about the items that prevented them from moving forward. Okay? So my point is that by having a sales process, because without a sales process, here's why we end up with unpredictable, unreliable, or broken pieces of information from the client. Typically, without a process in place, with real milestones and an understanding of where you are and why with a client, we kind of randomly move through the showing process, the listing process, and we're getting, maybe sometimes a little bit of feedback from the customer. Sometimes we're getting a lot of feedback from the customer, but it at times could be misleading. So it's open to interpretation. They're saying things, but without a process that helps us clarify what they're saying and establish where they are with motivation and decision making, like what we talked about in some of my other videos about staying one step behind the client, we're left as salespeople to guess what our clients are thinking, or we may misinterpret what they're saying as more motivation or less motivation than ultimately what they're feeling. So by having a proven sales process in place, you will become better at follow-up. And by becoming better at follow-up and more consistent at following up with unsold clients, you will sell more deals. You will sell more real estate, you will make more deals, and you will make more money. So that's the observation that I have for you today is without a truce, and it doesn't matter what process it is, but have a process from beginning to middle to end. And if that process is one that encourages open and honest feedback with your clients, what you're going to find is at the end of that sales call, when you get in your car and drive away and they get in their car and drive away, you should know specifically what kept them from moving forward. So now when you're doing a follow-up call, it's not like, hey, I was just calling to see if you made a decision yet. Because how many times can you make that call? Once or twice before you become kind of a nuisance, or it's a phone call where you're like, I don't even know what to say. I mean, they said they're still thinking about it, but I don't really know what they're thinking about. So I feel awkward calling next week. Meanwhile, they're going through a wide range of emotions trying to make this difficult and big decision and that involves real estate, which is, typically hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's my tip for the day. Have a proven sales process in place. Know exactly where you are at the end of a sales call. When you do not make the sale, that'll help you by doing better follow-up. And if you do better follow-up, you'll sell more deals. Hope everybody has a great day. We'll see you.